Hello, everyone. This is Alex Rodriguez, CEO and Chairman of Diversegy. And today I have with me our Senior Energy Pricing Analyst, Ms. Lindsay Ballard.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today.
I thought it would be a good idea to have Ms. Ballard on because Lindsay interacts with many of the thousands of clients that we serve on a nationwide basis. And at some point in time, I would say 80% of all of our deals are touched by Lindsay in some form or fashion. Working on that pricing desk, she's able to get a good insight into what customers are thinking all across the country. Not only our customers, but also the many thousands of consultants and marketing representatives that Diversegy supports all over the country. So this is a Diversegy public service announcement, and we thought that it would be a good idea to just do a 101, very short and brief overview on deregulation. And Lindsay, from your perspective, when you interact with clients across the country, are you finding that the opinions or the perspective on deregulation differs across the country?
Yes, definitely. I would say that in markets such as Texas and Georgia, the customers are much more familiar with the process. And in other states such as the North, New York, New Jersey, they just aren't as familiar. So this presentation will really help them to figure out, how deregulation is and what we can do to help their companies.
Yeah, good point. A lot of people don't realize it, but deregulation happens on a state-by-state basis. It's legislative, which means that every state has its own flavor of deregulation, and also not every state is deregulated. So in some states, they've been at it for a long time, and maybe it's been very fruitful, so everybody is astute to the process. But then in other states, it's still brand new, or they've never heard of the concept, so it's unfamiliar to them. And I think that's what you're speaking to. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
And I think the other point worth mentioning is that, we're talking about an industry and utility companies, regulated utility companies that have been around for 100 years. People have grown up with these utility companies for the most part, especially decision makers, procurement directors, CEOs, small business owners, CFOs, have grown up with regulated utilities in place. And we're going to talk about that. Let's get into our first slide here. I like the first slide because in order to talk about deregulation and to appreciate deregulation, I think we need to juxtapose against what the world looked like before deregulation. And as most of you know, in some of these newer markets, before deregulation, the energy supply chain was handled by one company. That meant that one regulated utility was responsible for everything from generating the electricity. If we're talking about natural gas, they're cultivating and pulling that natural gas, buying it from someone that pulled it out of the ground, and then, of course, they're delivering it. They have the infrastructure, meaning the poles and wires or the pipelines to move that commodity all the way through to the consumer. And if you understand the purpose of regulation, it really was a great idea, a great business model for that point in time for where our nation was. So America was young, it was building out its infrastructure, it needed money to be able to build the infrastructure to accommodate, what we've become today. And in order to do that, they became regulated utilities. That meant that even the rate of return on their investment was regulated. And that's the government's way of ensuring reliability, quality of service, and then, of course, emergency response teams. So before deregulation, everything was handled by one company. Working for the utility in many ways was just like working for the government. If you're my age or older and you remember people that got to work for the phone company or for the energy company, the lighting and power company, then you remember that was just a good job to land. I think one of the most interesting points is that regulated utilities don't refer to you and I and to the thousands of commercial customers that we serve as customers. They've referred to them historically as ratepayers. And it's interesting because there's a significant difference between those two words. A customer, for example, a customer is courted. A customer is someone that's desired. People desire customers. And it implies that customers have choices. Maybe they have demands. Maybe they have wants, desires, needs. And as a company, we're trying to meet those needs. In a regulated utility, however, a ratepayer is simply that, a ratepayer. You don't have a choice, and it's interesting because that's a cultural mindset. And if you've been doing something, and that's been the word that you've used for 50 years, it's very, very hard to get accustomed to that. And some utilities are better than others. Some utilities are very pro-customer, very pro-deregulation, and then some utilities are candidly just anti-deregulation. Have you incurred any of that, Lindsay, when we're going through the pricing proposal process or the switching process?
I have. I've encountered utilities where everything is very by the book. They follow the process to a T. And then I've encountered other utilities that are more willing to work with us and also with customers as well.
Yeah, so it's all over. Some utilities have evolved and figured out that they're in the infrastructure business, and then others are, I guess, kicking and screaming, so to speak. Or maybe they just have no incentive to provide a better level of service. So let's look at what happens after deregulation. In most states, this is not 100% accurate in every market, although conceptually it is. But most of the markets, you have three separate functions. And what legislation has done in most deregulated markets is forced the supply chain, the regulated utility, to break up into three separate functions. And one of those functions, of course, is energy generation. A lot of people don't know this, but energy generation has been deregulated for a long time, meaning that there's been independent investors and who've set up and built their own power plants and connected them to the grid. So that's been around for a long time, but that is a separate function. And then, of course, you have the transmission and distribution function. And this right here, this to me is the cornerstone of effective deregulation because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, but customers, especially in newer markets, customers absolutely want to see a savings. But they're leery because they don't know if there's a new meter that needs to be installed, if there's new poles and wires, what happens if there's a blackout, what if there's an outage, especially in light of what's happening recently. People are just leery to mess with that energy, and I think that that this has been a phenomenal and very, very wise piece of deregulation, and that is that legislation has mandated that the transmission and distribution remain the same. And that's important for you as a customer. That's important for us. That's important for everybody. That's important for everyone in the process because that ensures reliable service, secure service. The same people that have always been the first responder in the case of emergency, none of that changes. Not only does it not change, it's still regulated.
Exactly. It really gives your customers a peace of mind that is going to remain the same and not change in the process.
And I think that's, you said it, the peace of mind right there to know that there's going to be no infrastructure change. The only thing that's going to change is actually who I'm buying that commodity from. And that became a market opportunity in a lot of states. Deregulation has been an economic it's created an economic positive. It's created jobs, it's dispersed income, dispersed wealth, it's created innovative products. So this is the part that is actually deregulated as it pertains to customers. Now there's new energy suppliers. Before, in a regulated environment, you never had the ability to fix your rate. If prices went up, you heard about it on the news, and then next month your price went up. And deregulation is very, very different. It allows you to now have a choice. And a lot of these energy suppliers are not old utility companies. As a matter of fact, most of them are brand new companies, visionary management teams, people that understand customer service. They've come from other industries. They think innovative. They don't have you're just a ratepayer mindset. And that's the benefit to you. So the part about infrastructure, that stays the same. The only thing that's going to change is what you're paying for a commodity, how you're paying for the commodity, what type of product and term do you want to utilize. And then, of course, that's where we come in. Diversegy, we believe that this is where our greatest value proposition is that energy is one of the highest operating expenses for every business in America, and every household for sure. So if it's one of the biggest operating expenses, then you deserve representation. And Diversegy represents the customer in the energy buying process. And we interact with, we've got suppliers all over the country. We monitor what the best rates are, and then we present only the best energy suppliers to our customers. So price, reliability, service, buying strategy. If you're what we consider a major user, consumer of energy, then we provide our advisory services. And we sift through the market. We have, our management team has 150 years of combined energy experience, and we allow you to take advantage of that and leverage that into your energy buying plan. This next slide, I know it's a lot to read, but we just wanted to show you, if you remember early, we were talking about deregulation being a legislative function. Every state has its own flavor of deregulation, and this is just an internal document. We just wanted to share this with you that we use for training. You can see no opportunity, limited opportunity, considerable opportunity. I know that that's hard to interpret here, but a limited opportunity would be like, okay, the market's deregulated, but it doesn't really have favorable conditions. There's little value proposition for the customer, or maybe it's deregulated, but it's only for very large customers, commercial and industrial customers. So every market's different. In some markets, it's only electricity. In some markets, it's only natural gas. In some states, it's going to be both, but different customer classes. So all of those things are a result of every state making their own decision with respect to how deregulation is going to happen. So in closing, we want to thank you for your time. We hope that this has been helpful for you. If you're on the, if you're not sure if deregulation is for you, you want to set up a free consultation. We do a free evaluation. We do a free bill analysis. If you have multiple locations, maybe your company's headquartered in New Jersey, and you have 100 locations across the country, Diversegy absolutely can create value for you and help reduce those operating expenses. Our services cost nothing out of pocket to you, and we're eager to go to work on your behalf. So feel free to reach out to us, contact us in any meaningful way.
Thank you so much for taking the time to go over this presentation with us today. We think it's really going to add value to your portfolio for your businesses, and to let your customers know that we are here to shop around for them and to represent them in the buying process so that they don't have to go at it alone.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.